I wanted to talk to you today about human rights. Hi, my name's Andrea Takaji. I'm a human rights lawyer, advocate, lobbyist, and academic. So have you ever thought about where your human rights have come from? Yes, we've got international instruments such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that adhere to these principles which we hold so dear. And we believe that every person has the right to these human rights. But where did these come from? Yes, they were written by a coalition of people and nations after World War II that decided that the atrocity of World War II should never happen again. And yes, we believe that all persons have access to these human rights, and they should. But where do these philosophies come from? Before they were codified, before they were written down, before they were thought of? Well, I'd like to put it to you that it came from within you. Hear me out. So we have all been born with rights and freedoms. We have freedoms and rights inalienably, and we have all been born with them. So it is our right to these rights and freedoms. For example, the freedom of movement, freedom of conscience, freedom of belief, freedom of association, freedom of religion, and other freedoms that come out of that, such as, the access to education and health that we all require. We have been born with these freedoms because we are created in the image of God. Imago Dei. We have these rights built within us. It's kind of like our conscience, right? We know right from wrong. And this is called divine law because we acknowledge in our constitution, in the judges, in courts, acknowledge God as supreme author of law and acknowledge God as the source of law as well. So this is referred to as divine law. Now, in addition to that, we also have what's called natural law. So we see in nature and through reason an understanding of the difference between right and wrong. So we have divine law and natural law that make up the inalienable human rights that we are all born with, right? So when government makes laws, they also need to adhere to these divine laws and natural laws because we have access to these rights and freedoms and no one should be able to take them away from us. If government want to encroach on our freedoms and rights, then they need to justify why they want to take away our freedoms, why they want to take away our rights to freedom of movement, freedom of conscience, freedom of association, freedom of belief, freedom of religion, all of these freedoms. So the justification for taking away our rights need to be proportionate and in relation to the best interest of the community. So we start out with these rights, and legislation should adhere to these rights according to divine law and natural law, and they should not be able to take away our freedoms and rights unless for a justifiable reason and for a certain amount of time. Is it proportionate? Is it justifiable? Because these rights and freedoms are inalienably ours, and no one has a right to take them from us. If they do, there's been a violation. There's been a violation of our human rights, and not only nationally, but through international instruments. So I want you to think about this deeply. If you have inalienable human rights through divine law and natural law, and government is taking them away from you without justification, without measure, without due process, what are we going to do about it? There's some thoughts.